And away we go, episode 1191 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. It is 2025 NFL Trade Deadline Day. The 2025 NFL Trade Deadline is on Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. What will the Washington Commanders do regarding the 2025 NFL Trade Deadline? Will they sell? Will they do nothing? Will they buy? They're not going to buy, are they? NFL insider Jordan Schultz, he had a post on X on Monday afternoon, had this, quote, sources, the Commanders have been open to trading several players, including offensive lineman Andrew Wiley and offensive lineman Nick Allegretti, both of whom bring extensive starting and playoff experience. Wiley has valuable position flexibility, having played both guard spots and right tackle during his career. End quote. The Commanders on 2023 NFL Trade Deadline Day traded edge defenders Montez Sweat and Chase Young. The Commanders on 2024 NFL Trade Deadline Day traded for cornerback Marshon Lattimore. Is a big move of some kind coming from the Commanders on this NFL Trade Deadline Day? Hello and welcome to this Tuesday installment of the Al Galdi podcast. Well, Commanders general manager Adam Peters, to me, 100% should be a seller regarding this NFL trade deadline. Sell and sell hard. This team so needs to get younger, replenish the team's diminished draft capital as best you can. And that last part, as best you can, is key. The NFL trade market is tricky. It is hard to gauge who has trade value and how much. But to whatever extent Commanders players not named Jayden Daniels have trade value, those guys should be available for trade. Honestly, there's not a player on the Commanders other than Jayden Daniels who shouldn't be available for trade for the right price. Don't just give people away, but available for trade at the right price. Now, speaking of the QB1, Jayden Daniels, and also of the aforementioned Marshon Lattimore, we on Monday afternoon got injury updates from head coach Dan Quinn during his day after the game press conference off the 38-14 loss to the Seattle Seahawks at Northwest Stadium on Sunday Night Football to drop the Commanders to 3-6 in the NFL's 2025 regular season. This was quite the day after the game presser from Quinn. This was quite the Tell the Truth Monday from Quinn. Next segment, discussion of two key injuries for the Commanders offense off Quinn's presser. Jayden Daniels has a dislocated left elbow, and Dan Quinn admits that he was wrong to have had Daniels in the game when he got injured. This was some admission by Quinn. Also, we'll get into receiver Luke McCaffrey having suffered a broken collarbone on his game-opening 19-yard kickoff return on Sunday night. Yet another injury for the Commanders at receiver. The following segment, discussion of the Commanders' defense off Dan Quinn's presser, including Marshon Lattimore having suffered a season-ending torn ACL in the loss to the Seahawks as he played his last game for the Commanders, and a reveal by Quinn of a change regarding defensive coordinator Joe Whitt Jr. No, he has not been fired, but he is moving from being in the coach's booth during games to being on the Commanders' sideline during games. Joe is on the go. Will this make an impact, or is this the equivalent of rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic? Also on the show, college basketball. The 2025-2026 college basketball regular season started on Monday. I'll give you thoughts on season opening wins for Maryland, Georgetown, Virginia, and Virginia Tech. And on the show, we'll talk about our rebuilding and tanking Washington Wizards. They on Monday night lost their fifth consecutive game, a 119-102 loss at the New York Knicks. Before we get to some feedback, a few items. The NFL on Monday night announced that the league has suspended Commanders linebacker Frankie Luvu without pay for one game. This for repeated violations of playing rules intended to protect the health and safety of players. The NFL ruled that Luvu, in the loss to the Seahawks, was guilty of his third hip drop tackle of this regular season. Now, Luvu is not having some great season. He has dropped off considerably from his great 2024 season, but still a bad Commanders defense, now even worse with Frankie Luvu having been suspended. Meantime, the 2025 finalists for MLB's four major end-of-season awards from the Baseball Writers Association of America, the Rookie of the Year Awards, the Manager of the Year Awards, the Cy Young Awards, and the Most Valuable Player Awards were announced on Monday evening. Not among the three finalists for National League Rookie of the Year for the 2025 regular season was Washington Nationals outfielder Dalen Lyle. That was disappointing, especially off of September, for which he was named both National League Player of the Month and National League Rookie of the Month. He did have bad advanced defensive stats. I'm assuming that is why he is not a finalist. And some Orioles news. So they on Monday afternoon announced having agreed with reliever Dietrich Enns on a one-year contract for the 2026 season with a club option for the 2027 season. They did this rather than exercise a club option on him for the 2026 season. Also, the O's reportedly are declining a club option on infielder/outfielder Jorge Mateo for the 2026 season. And Orioles outfielder Tyler O'Neill reportedly is not opting out of his contract with the O's, as he could have. No surprise, he'll reportedly be paid $33 million over the final 2 seasons of his contract off an injury-plagued 2025 season with the O's. That has been the story of this guy's career: injuries. Additionally, we have the introductory press conference for O's manager Craig Albernaz on Tuesday morning at 11. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You could email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. I have received a ton of feedback on the Commanders off this loss to the Seahawks, and I thank you for that feedback. One of my favorite things about doing this podcast is the feedback. A lot of smart and insightful and funny messages on X and emails. Usually the emails are better than the messages on X because people can expound on their thoughts via email. But whatever the case, a salute to you. Email from a great sponsor of this podcast, Dr. George Verghese writes, Dr. Verghese, I think I'm tired of DQ talking about this space and that space. Right now, we have 0 spaces, LOL. Thank you for that, Dr. Verghese. Dan Quinn does like to talk about this space and that space and this other space and that other space in this space in that space. Email from Marlon G. Writes Marlon, hey Al, not looking good for the Redskins. Injuries keep piling up now. This was a code red game. The defense looks lost. Receivers can't get no darn separation. You might need to make an emergency call for Chris Cooley to do an exorcism. No trade chips, and we have no draft picks to even trade. Time to rebuild. It seems like we have one good year, and the next year is a disaster. Hope you had a good Misery Monday. Thank you for the email, Marlon. Yep, I on radio used to do what I called Redskins revivals. These were like religious revivals. I did these when we were especially down about the Skins, and I at one point got one of my colleagues, legendary former Skins tight end Chris Cooley, to feel the spirit. Ain't that right, Chris?
Feel the spirit.
That's right, Cooley. Feel the spirit. Perhaps we right now do need a Commanders revival. But regarding Marlon's point about the team having one good season and then the next season being a disaster, that is part of the pain of this season. Washington has not made the playoffs in each of at least 2 consecutive seasons since making the playoffs in each of 3 consecutive seasons from 1990 through 1992. It has been more than 30 years since Washington made the playoffs in back-to-back seasons, and barring a miraculous surge, that will not be changing this season. Email from Kim. Writes Kim, Al, speechless. Have we not paid our dues as fans yet? Guess not. Years of neglect, now trying to have our pick, our one guy, run the show with no help. Shameful organization. What a season it wasn't. Thank you for the email, Kim. This is very much a Commander season that has never truly fired, right? That has never truly gotten going in terms of the team being what it was supposed to be. Email from Sean. Right, Sean. Al, I usually try to wait before I write to you so as to remove all emotion from my words, but as soon as Jayden went down, I started typing. I don't believe in having over-the-top reactions, but having Jayden playing with the offensive line playing so poorly and a JV team assembled at the skill positions, this has to be organizational malpractice of the worst kind. Just get him out of there, I was thinking. Jayden isn't going to quit, and he was going to keep fighting as long as he was able to, but no, the team left him in. And here we are, Al. As much as light was shown on this team last season, as much as goodwill was garnered. The nirvana that we experienced last season was wonderful, yet as quickly as that occurred, rightfully or not, this season, losing the benefit of the doubt and experienced harsh criticism, along with coaches being placed on hot seats, can justly or unjustly occur just as fast. Dan Quinn is a defensive-minded head coach, and his defense is atrocious. The roster is plainly, for whatever reason one comes up with, not up to respectable standards. In the past, our shame occurred under the shade of 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. obscurity on a Sunday docket. Now, our shame is seen on national TV, nowhere to hide, and that bright light of exposure can lead to firings, Al. Someone will be fired, most likely. Too many eyes on the product for this continuation of no change. However, more damning on Sunday night until Jayden got hurt was this team didn't seem to be prepared. That's unacceptable. The season was on the line. You're retiring the great Art Monk's jersey. You are wearing the classic jerseys for the first time, and that's the effort you put forth. That's the preparation the team had. Then you double down on the adeptness by keeping your franchise quarterback in a game we can't win, and he's being pressured on 54% of his passes. Why? The excuses for this regime, front office, head coach, and coordinators need to stop. This is a travesty. It is a sham. It is a mockery. It is a Travis-sham mockery. They are culpable. This is their roster and their schemes. With Jayden hurt, they most definitely need to be selling at this trade deadline. Take care, Al. I thought these days were over, hoping once again for better days. Thank you for the email, Sean. As I said on X on Sunday night and said on Monday's show, episode 1190, I am looking forward to the Commanders having far fewer primetime games next season. That is a bright spot to this debacle of a season. Ain't no way that the NFL is going to give the Commanders for the 2026 regular season what the league gave our team for this 2025 regular season. 8 standalone games, including 5 primetime games. The Commanders over 4 primetime games in this regular season, 0-4 with a point differential of minus 55. Horrendous. Not horrendous. The exact opposite of horrendous is the Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers. It has been a Washington, D.C. institution for decades. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers, and schedule a no-obligation appointment. Call 202-902-7611 or visit WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. Founded in 1979, the Nace Law Group offers fierce advocacy on behalf of medical malpractice, birth injury, and personal injury victims. Led by the great Chris Nace, the Nace Law Group is focused on providing exceptional care and counsel for those who need such things the most. The Nace Law Group fights for what it believes in, you, your family, and your future. You with the Nace Law Group have an experienced advocate on your side. The Nace Law Group has secured millions of dollars in verdict and settlement amounts for clients to better enable them to care for themselves and their families. Call 202-902-7611 or visit WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. That's 202-902-7611 or WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com, and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. The Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers. Hey, please consider subscribing to the podcast if you're not already doing that. Subscribing to the podcast costs nothing. Make sure that you never miss an episode and helps out the podcast a lot. And if you're already subscribing, thank you. The Washington Commanders being ravaged by injury continues, but we on Monday afternoon got some good news, relatively speaking, on quarterback Jayden Daniels. We on Monday afternoon had the day after the game press conference of head coach Dan Quinn. He, during the presser, said a lot of notable things, but regarding injury updates off the 38-14 loss to the Seattle Seahawks at Northwest Stadium on Sunday Night Football, Quinn gave us 3 injury updates. A, Jayden Daniels suffered a dislocated left elbow. B, receiver Luke McCaffrey suffered a broken collarbone. C, cornerback Marshon Lattimore suffered a torn ACL. More on McCaffrey later this segment as we focus on the Commanders' offense. More on Lattimore next segment, during which we'll focus on the Commanders' defense. But regarding Jayden Daniels, here was Quinn during the opening statement of his presser.
Confirmed Jayden dislocated his left elbow. No timetable on that right now. Still gathering the information.
All right, so a dislocated left elbow for Jayden Daniels. No timetable for his return. Certainly would seem that he'll be out for a while. Here was ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter on the Pat McAfee Show on Monday afternoon.
There have been some bad weeks in the NFL. This is another one of them. Obviously, you have Jayden Daniels last night. That was really troubling to see and watch, and see him be escorted off the field with his left arm in a brace. Look, here's the deal. He's having the MRI today. It's dislocated his elbow. I mean, it's not going to be any different in the result there. And he's going to be out indefinitely. So Washington would have to keep alive its season and turn it around at 3-6 for him to have a chance to come back. And I would think it's safe to assume that Washington is going to be, moving forward, extraordinarily careful about when it puts back in Jayden Daniels. And so if they're not winning here in the weeks to come, then I think there's a real chance that we've seen the last of Jayden Daniels this season.
Man.
I think that's in the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
He's definitely, it's possible his season is over. The whole thing was troubling. You never want to see a player like that go down. You never want to see a player like that go down midway through the fourth quarter, down 31 points. That franchise has been through that before, and it's unfortunate the way the whole thing unfolded.
Yes, it is unfortunate, and when it comes to the circumstances under which Jayden Daniels suffered this dislocated left elbow, 2nd and goal for the Commanders at the 2 with 7:39 left in the fourth quarter. Daniels was sacked by linebacker Drake Thomas for a 2-yard loss. Thomas, in tackling Daniels, spun him down to the ground, and Daniels, while being tackled, had his left arm bent backwards in a rather gruesome way. And as we discussed a bunch on Monday's show, episode 1190, Dan Quinn aired in still having Jayden Daniels in the game. Daniels got injured with the Commanders down 38-7 with 7:29 left in the fourth quarter. The game was done. This was garbage time. Daniels was pressured heavily throughout the game. His pass catchers barely got open during the game. He ran a bunch during the game. He already had been injured twice this season. Why in the world did Dan Quinn still have Jayden Daniels in the game? Well, before Dan Quinn, during his opening statement on Monday afternoon, updated us on the Jayden Daniels injury, Quinn issued an apology, a my bad, a mea culpa for having Daniels in the game when he got injured. Take a listen to this.
I know many of you have been asking about the thought process of Jayden being in the game in that situation. I get that. I've been thinking about it, honestly, nonstop too. And, for me, the answer is, man, I missed it. But I would, I'll fill you in on my thought process. At the start of the fourth quarter, I guess it was probably like 12 and a half minutes left in the game. And that was going to be the last drive for a couple of guys, Jayden and Zach and Debo and LT. And so we weren't going to have any read run plays, and meaning no carries, for the quarterback on a run. And honestly, man, that's where I missed it. Of course he could scramble. It's Jayden. It's what he's special at. And that is 100% that's on me. And I also said last night in the presser to our fans that, man, did we miss our mark as a team. And with that performance, we need to fix it. They created an awesome environment, at the stadium for the game. And that fix needs to be done now.
So how about that from Dan Quinn? He admitted that he was wrong to have had Jayden Daniels in the game when Daniels got injured. Respect to Dan Quinn for beginning his press conference by admitting that he was wrong to still have had Jayden Daniels in the game when he got injured. Quote, I missed it 100%. That's on me, end quote. Not many NFL head coaches would say that. This is why Dan Quinn is so well regarded by players. He, on Monday afternoon, manned up and owned up to his mistake. I give him a lot of credit for this. Now, it would be better had he not made the mistake, but seriously, how many other NFL head coaches would have said what Quinn said had they done what Quinn did? Dan Quinn is big on people, including himself, learning from mistakes. He seems to have learned from his mistake on Sunday night. More on that and on the status of Jayden Daniels. We on Monday afternoon had this exchange between Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN and Dan Quinn.
First, a two-part, does Jayden need surgery? And two, what brought you to that realization? Like, when did that hit you? Was it driving home? Was it watching the film again? Why did you come to that realization that maybe you should take him out? Yeah,
the hindsight part is the hardest one. That's what I think about all night and nonstop. When you have chances and you look back to say, man, how do you do this differently, so this doesn't happen? And, 12 and a half minutes, I thought, okay, this is the, last drive for them and what we'll do. And so just missed it, John. Honestly, there's no other reason behind that, and just mad, upset, all those things. And then as far as timetables for Jayden, they're still gathering the last little bit of information and should have maybe a further update as the week continues with him.
All right. Has Dan Quinn talked to Jayden Daniels about this mistake, to which Quinn now admits? So we on Monday afternoon had this exchange between 7 News DC sports director Scott Abraham and Dan Quinn.
Hey, Dan, we obviously hear and see the remorse from you with what happened with Jayden. Curious if you had a conversation with Jayden yet today, and what were those words like? What was that conversation like if you did speak with Jayden?
Yep, I got a chance to visit with him last night, post-game, and again today. And just, we have a good relationship, Scott, honestly. Just talk through the game, things, the highs and lows, like all of it. And it's just nice to know you have honest conversations where we're at, what we need to do. And, but it's something that we would do on a regular basis for sure.
Okay, so not much there from Dan Quinn on his conversation with Jayden Daniels. Is Daniels done for the season? We on Monday afternoon had this exchange between Commanders insider Nikki Javala of The Athletic and Dan Quinn.
With Jayden, I know you're still gathering information, but do you leave open the possibility that he could return the season? And did he suffer any fractures at all with the dislocation?
Nope, just the dislocation. So that was a good space. And like I said, I'll have a little bit more once they do like all the final, checkups and opinions and that type. But, by Wednesday, Thursday, I'm sure I'll be able to update that a little bit further once, other opinions and those things are there. But it'll knock them out for a while for sure.
All right, so good news there in that Jayden Daniels did not suffer a fracture, just a dislocation of the left elbow. He's out for at least a while, but maybe not for the rest of the season. Will the state of the Commanders season influence whether Daniels plays again this season? We on Monday afternoon had this exchange between Commanders insider Tom Shad of the Washington Post and Dan Quinn.
Dan, I hate to ask a hypothetical question, but depending on the team's record, even if Jayden is healthy enough to return later in the season, can you foresee any situation where the team would hold him out even if he's healthy enough to play?
Yeah. I hate that you went hypothetical too. You didn't have to. I haven't even gone there, Tom, honestly, dude. That's a way down the line space to get into. Kind of really worried about this weekend to go. So we haven't discussed any of that. We haven't had any topics on that at all.
Yeah, I'll answer that question for Dan Quinn. Of course, the state of the Commanders season might influence whether Jayden Daniels plays again this season. The Commanders in the NFL's 2025 regular season are 3-6, including a putrid 1-5 in the NFC. No, they have not been officially eliminated from postseason contention, but yes, their realistic postseason hope is hanging by a thread. The Commanders' schedule for the rest of this month: home to the Detroit Lions this Sunday afternoon, November 9th at 4:25. The game against the Miami Dolphins in Spain on Sunday morning, November 16th at 9:30. A Week 12 bye, and then home to the Denver Broncos on Sunday Night Football on November 30th at 8:20. That's the Sunday night of Thanksgiving weekend. If the Commanders somehow beat the Lions this Sunday, don't laugh. If the Commanders somehow beat the Lions this Sunday and then beat the Dolphins in Spain and go into the bye 5-6, then yes, perhaps there at that point is a season worth saving. But the Commanders beating the Lions this Sunday, not exactly a sky-high probability of that happening. But I am glad that Jayden Daniels did not suffer a fracture and isn't necessarily done for the season, though there is still more intel that the team is gathering. Two more thoughts on Jayden Daniels suffering a dislocated left elbow. Number one, and I tell you, I debated whether I should even address this, but I'm going to address this. No, Dan Quinn should not be fired for having Jayden Daniels in the game when he got injured on Sunday night. Yes, Quinn made a big-time mistake in still having Daniels in the game. The injury risk, given the circumstances, far outweighed whatever benefit there was to Daniels still playing. But you don't just fire a head coach for one mistake, even a major mistake, especially when that head coach is coming off a first season in which he went 12-5 in the regular season and 2-1 in the postseason in what was a renaissance season for your franchise. The idea that Dan Quinn should be fired has been mostly a social media thing, which is why I debated even addressing this, because, of course, there is a good bit of nonsense on social media. But I saw enough of this to where I figured this was worth addressing. No, Dan Quinn should not be fired for having Jayden Daniels in the game when he got injured on Sunday night. In fact, firing Dan Quinn for this is exactly the kind of reactionary, flying off the handle, overly emotional behavior for which people killed the previous lead owner of the team, Dan Snyder. Firing Quinn for having Daniels in the game when he got injured on Sunday night would be a Dan move, as in Dan Snyder, not Dan Quinn. Don't Dan. Don't do Dan Quinn like Dan Snyder would do Dan Quinn. Thought number two, Jayden Daniels' durability now is a concern. Understand, he has gotten injured in 3 of his 6 games in this regular season. 3 out of 6 in this regular season has played in just 6 games, and he has gotten injured in 3 of them. First a left knee injury, then a right hamstring injury, now this left elbow injury. 3 different injuries. The durability topic with Jayden Daniels is difficult. He over 5 seasons as a collegiate QB1, 2 seasons as Arizona State's QB1, and 3 seasons as LSU's QB1 was very durable. He had his all-time great rookie season last season, was very durable. He played in 20 of the Commanders' regular season and postseason games last season. But Daniels has a thin frame, to which, yes, he did add some muscle this past offseason, but he has a thin frame, he runs a lot, and he takes a lot of contact. All 3 of those things are undeniable. And now here we are. He in his second NFL season has gotten injured in 3 of the 6 regular season games in which he has played. He's super tough. He's super competitive. But his availability this season has been a problem. Not his fault. I'm not mad at him. But his availability this season has been a problem. As for Luke McCaffrey, a rough development for him. Here was Dan Quinn during the opening statement of his day after the game press conference on Monday afternoon.
Luke fractured his collarbone. Still working through the timetable for that, but that'll definitely knock him out for a while. So tough night on the injury front.
Okay, so Luke McCaffrey, at least according to Dan Quinn right there, not necessarily done for the season, but certainly out for a while. The Commanders took McCaffrey in the 3rd round of the 2024 NFL Draft at Rice. So certainly had been more productive this season as a receiver than he was during his rookie season, but his biggest impact this season was as a kickoff returner, right? McCaffrey, for this regular season through games on Sunday, was number 3 among all qualified players in the NFL in yards per kickoff return, 29.6, but he now would appear to be headed to the reserve/injured list, on which he'll join the other key offensive players who the Commanders have on that list, the receiver Noah Brown and running back Austin Eckler, and also out is receiver Terry McLaurin. Now, he's not on the reserve/injured list, but he, for the loss to the Seahawks, was inactive due to a quadriceps that he re-injured in the Commanders' 28-7 loss at the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football on October 27th. McLaurin in that game returned from a 4-game absence caused by the quadriceps injury, and there does not seem to be any optimism about McLaurin coming back anytime soon. Commanders receivers in the loss to the Seahawks beyond Luke McCaffrey. Deebo Samuel Sr. had 5 receptions for 41 yards on 6 targets and had 1 carry for 3 yards and playing on 68% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. Chris Moore had no targets despite playing on 74% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. Now, let's think about that. Moore played on 74% of the Commanders' offensive snaps, and yet he had 0 targets, to say nothing of 0 catches. Boy, does that say a lot about the Commanders' lack of depth at receiver. Now, has that depth been upgraded via Treylon Burks? He had 1 reception for 14 yards on 1 target and playing on 51% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. The Commanders on Saturday afternoon announced having elevated Burks from the practice squad for this game. The team on October 17th announced having signed Burks as an unrestricted free agent to the practice squad. And Jalen Lane had 3 receptions for 29 yards on 5 targets and playing on 63% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. So we have entered the holiday season. A great idea for dinner, a great idea for a gift is Omaha Steaks. Omaha Steaks food is outstanding. You know, my dad got us Omaha Steaks as a Christmas gift a few years ago. He won that Christmas. Best gift that we got. From handcrafted steaks to delicious fall favorites, Omaha Steaks delivers the world's best steak experience. Enjoy USDA-certified tender steaks, juicy burgers, chicken, pork, seafood, plus tailgating favorites like chicken wings, smash burgers, and big deli-style franks. The food is so good, and right now during Omaha Steaks' semi-annual sale, you get 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, you get an extra $35 off with the promo code ALGALDI at checkout. Omaha Steaks offers unrivaled quality and variety, and every bite is backed by a 100% guarantee. Omaha Steaks is a family-owned company that has been America's original butcher since 1917. Yes, over 100 years of expertise in the meat industry. Bring home the legendary flavor and everyday convenience of Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during Omaha Steaks' semi-annual sale. And for an extra $35 off, use the promo code ALGALDI at checkout. Using that promo code helps out this podcast a lot, so thank you in advance. The promo code is simply my name, ALGALDI. 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com and an extra $35 off with the promo code ALGALDI at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details. More now on the Washington Commanders off their 38-14 loss to the Seattle Seahawks at Northwest Stadium on Sunday Night Football, and off head coach Dan Quinn's day after the game press conference on Monday afternoon. Let's talk Commanders defense off its latest hideous performance. So cornerback Marshon Lattimore is done for the season. He on Sunday night suffered a torn ACL. Here was Dan Quinn during the opening statement of his presser on Monday afternoon.
Marshon had an MRI today and confirmed an ACL injury for him, so that will knock him out for the season.
So Marshon Lattimore done for the season, and maybe done in terms of playing for the Commanders. You have to wonder if he has played his last game for the team. The Commanders acquired Lattimore via trade with the New Orleans Saints on November 5th, 2024, what was 2024 NFL trade deadline day, and his time with the Commanders, of course, has been really disappointing. Missed a lot of time last season due to a hamstring injury. He overall has not played well when he has played for the Commanders. Way too many penalties, way too many instances of him getting worked in matchups with big-time receivers. So Lattimore, in the loss to the Seahawks, played on 63% of the Commanders' defensive snaps and had 2 more penalties, so one of which was accepted on a 1st and 10 for the Seahawks at the Commanders' 13 with 3:51 left in the first quarter. Lattimore committed a 10-yard defensive pass interference penalty, and Lattimore committed a defensive pass interference penalty that was declined. This on quarterback Sam Darnold's 2nd and goal, 4-yard under center play action touchdown pass to receiver Torrey Horton with 3:04 left in the first quarter. Marshon Lattimore, over 14 regular season and postseason games with the Commanders, has committed 15 penalties, including 13 accepted penalties. Way too many penalties. So Lattimore is under contract through next season, but he has zero guaranteed money left on his contract. And next season will be his age 30 season. He absolutely is a salary cap cut candidate for this coming offseason. At this point, I'd be stunned if he is not cut by the Commanders this coming offseason. But whatever you think about Marshon Lattimore, he has been one of the Commanders' top 3 cornerbacks, and he's now headed to the reserve/injured list, on which will join the other key defensive players who the Commanders have on that list: the safety Will Harris, edge defenders Dorrance Armstrong, Dietrich Wise Jr., and Javonte Jean-Baptiste. As for the Commanders' defense as a whole, their reeling, atrocious defense. We on Monday afternoon had this exchange between Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN and Dan Quinn.
The defensive struggles have continued for a while. You've said you'll look at everything. Are you at the point now where you're considering any changes with your defensive staff at all?
No, I was, honestly, the 3 TDs that just burned me up. On the second TD was like a 3rd and 8. We doubled Smith and Jigba. We got beaten man-to-man by a different player. The 3rd TD was the first play after a fumble on a kickoff return. I believe it was right around 25, 26-yard line. It was man-to-man on a seam route, so those weren't confusing calls. And the toughest of all was a cover 3, the 4th TD. The quarterback got caught up on a run fake, ball over top. We also missed a tackle on that play. So the executing, man, John, it's players, it's coaches, it's all of us, man. And we're capable of playing these calls and playing them better, and I'm certain of it. My belief in the players is high, and the staff is high, and we've got to get this job done, man. It was extremely frustrating, and we're going to look at everything, man, to make sure, like, whatever we need to do to play our best, we're going to find a way to do that.
All right, so no changes for Dan Quinn's coaching staff in terms of defensive coaches. No firings. Defensive coordinator Joe Whitt Jr. is not being fired, at least not yet. But there is something that is changing with Whitt. We on Monday afternoon had this back and forth between Commanders insider J.P. Finley of NBC4 and Dan Quinn.
Hey, Dan, I know you said no changes coming on the defensive staff, but what about moving guys around, maybe bringing Joe Whitt down to the field? Any of that under consideration?
Yeah, you might have some insider scoop going on there, JP. We are going to do that. And so Joe will move down from the press box onto the field this week. And we're going to dig in hard on changes we can make, to make an impact and make a difference. And that's one that we will do.
What are the possible advantages? How does that help?
The advantages, Joe's, obviously an excellent communicator and teacher, and so when a play comes in and you need to go get it corrected right away, you can get right to it. And when the advantage of seeing the game from the highest point, JP, especially on the defensive side, it gives you a specific vision of a route and things to go, and you can be ahead of it. That's the advantage of it. And so for him being down on the field, we just felt like it's a change that needs to be made, and get into that space. And it may not be forever, but that's what we need at the moment.
So Joe Whitt is moving from being in the coach's booth during games to being on the Commander's sideline during games. This is a classic change made by a team that is struggling on defense or offense. You move the coordinator from the booth to the sideline, or from the sideline to the booth. Give the coordinator a different vantage point, a different viewpoint. Yeah, that'll fix things. Does this ever really change anything? No, not really. But you figure, hey, we got to try something. And speaking of needing to try something, the Commanders' pass rush. What can be tried? What can be done given all of the injuries at edge defender? The Commanders on Sunday night, per the NFL's Next Gen Stats, pressured Sam Darnold on just 3 of his 24 dropbacks. 3 out of 24. That's it. We on Monday afternoon had this exchange between Commanders insider Nikki Javala of The Athletic and Dan Quinn.
Hi, Dan. As regards to the pass rush, I know that was a struggle, especially last night.
Yes.
Given all the injuries, I know you guys don't want to use that as an excuse, but it's to the point now of, how do you fix that with the people you have? do you expect changes in personnel with the deadline coming up?
Adam and I would stay in, constant communication regarding, changes and that type of thing as it goes to the roster. We'll also have, some IR spots, that are going to be, they're moving ahead just based on the roster, what happened last night. And we're going to dig in hard. Technique, just kind of find the edges, Nikki, and those are the margins to try to get better at, whether it's a defensive end rushing better, a defensive tackle, the blitz package to do it, because you know it and I know it. You have to be able to disrupt the QB. You just have to. And it's not only one way to do it, but we're going to find those margins to improve upon it for sure.
The Commanders have got to figure something out with the pass rush. Consider this. The Commanders on Sunday night, per the NFL's next-gen stats, pressured Sam Darnold on just 3 of his 24 dropbacks. The Seahawks on Sunday night, per the NFL's next-gen stats, pressured Jayden Daniels on 17 of his 34 dropbacks. Quite the difference. Catering by Uptown. It provides catering to perfection. Whatever event you're planning, a wedding, a holiday party, whatever, visit cateringbyuptown.com. Mention that Al Galdi sent you and see what Catering by Uptown can do for you. Catering by Uptown provides both great service and a great price. Catering by Uptown is a family business. It is run by the Pereiras, who are great Commanders fans and loyal supporters of this podcast. Catering by Uptown specializes in handling everything so that you don't have to. Catering by Uptown understands that special events deserve to be celebrated in style and thus takes care of every detail so that you can enjoy your event. Great service, amazing cuisine, and reliability are the foundation of what makes Catering by Uptown one of the most referred caterers throughout Maryland, Washington, D.C., and Northern Virginia. And know this, if you go to cateringbyuptown.com and click on venues, you can set up your own personal tour of one of Catering by Uptown's premier venues, including outstanding waterfront venues. Catering by Uptown offers the ability to coordinate services at over 100 of the best reception halls, vineyards, farms, historic homes, event venues, banquet facilities, and wedding venues in the area. Visit cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. That's cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. Well, the 2025-2026 college basketball regular season started on Monday. We on this podcast, which is about Washington, D.C. area sports, focus our college basketball coverage on Maryland, Georgetown, Virginia, and Virginia Tech. But we expand the coverage as we get deeper into the season. We see which of the many other Division I men's basketball teams of the Mid-Atlantic region are worth discussing. American, George Mason, VCU, James Madison. We in recent years have had plenty of worthy teams, but Maryland, Georgetown, Virginia, and Virginia Tech all played on Monday evening. Maryland blasted Coppin State 83-61 at CFG Bank Arena in Baltimore on Monday evening in the Naismith Hall of Fame Baltimore series. The Terrapins' leading scorer was 6'9" Texas A&M transfer Pharrell Payne. He in 27 minutes as a starter went 6 for 8 from the field, all twos, and 9 for 9 on free throws. He finished with 21 points, 6 rebounds, including 4 offensive boards and 2 assists versus 2 turnovers. And yes, I did say that Pharrell Payne is a Texas A&M transfer. Maryland this past April 1st announced the hiring of Buzz Williams as head coach off the mess with Kevin Willard this past March. Remember all of that? Villanova this past March 30th announced the hiring of Maryland head coach Kevin Willard as Nova's head coach off quite the saga. But Buzz Williams spent the last 6 seasons as Texas A&M's head coach. He prior to that spent 5 seasons as Virginia Tech's head coach. He comes to Maryland off having over 18 seasons as a collegiate head coach, led his programs to 11 NCAA tournament appearances and 13 20-win seasons. Buzz Williams can coach, but if you went to Maryland, as I did, or you just are a Maryland fan, as I am, there is a lot to get used to with this season's team. 15 of the 16 players on Maryland's roster for this season are new players, including 5 true freshmen. Next up for Maryland, home to Georgetown, Friday evening at 6. Very much looking forward to that. Maryland versus Georgetown, although a 6 p.m. start on a Friday evening. Good luck to everyone driving on 495 to get to that game. But Georgetown ripped Morgan State 87-70 at Capital One Arena on Monday evening. The Hoyas went just 4 for 26 on threes, but also 24 for 39 on twos and 27 for 39 on free throws. And not that was a high free throw percentage, but the Hoyas had 39 free throw attempts. So this is season number 3 for Ed Cooley as Hoyas head coach. Will this be a second consecutive step forward season for the Hoyas? So Georgetown over the 2021-2022 through 2023-2024 seasons went a horrendous 4-58 in Big East regular season games and Big East tournament games, but Georgetown last regular season went 17-14 overall, including 8-12 in the Big East. The Hoyas in the 2025 Big East tournament did go 0-1, but the Hoyas demonstrated progress last season. Virginia, it blew out Rider 87-53 at John Paul Jones Arena in Charlottesville, Virginia on Monday night. UVA has 12 new players. So the team's leading scorer on Monday night was 6'9" true freshman Tess de Ridder, who's from Belgium and who is 22. Yes, he is a 22-year-old true freshman. He in just 24 minutes, 18 seconds as a starter, had 21 points, 10 rebounds, including 6 offensive boards, and 2 assists versus no turnovers. He went 1 for 2 on threes, 9 for 12 on twos, and 0 for 2 on free throws. The Virginia Athletics Director Carla Williams this past March 22nd announced the hiring of Ryan Odom as the 13th head men's basketball coach in UVA history. He spent the previous 2 seasons as VCU's head coach, and I really like the hire. Odom can coach. He has deep ties to this region. He spent a good portion of his childhood, the 3rd through 10th grades, in Charlottesville, as his father, Dave Odom, served as an assistant coach for men's basketball head coach Terry Holland from 1982 to 1989 at UVA, and Dave Odom eventually served as Wake Forest head coach and South Carolina head coach. Ryan Odom was an assistant coach at American University for the 2001-2002 through 2003-2004 seasons, and was an assistant coach at Virginia Tech for the 2004-2005 through 2009-2010 seasons. We, during Odom's postgame press conference on Monday night, had this exchange between VirginiaSports.com Director of News Content Jeff White and Odom.
You've talked about how this would be the first game at JPJ, first official game for so many of your players. It was also your first game. What were your emotions tonight, and what was the experience like?
Yeah, I was asked that earlier. I think, gratitude, walking out of the tunnel. I think that was the first thing, that you think about. Just I'm really blessed to be here and be the coach here. So, tried to let that, marinate in my head. And then, excitement. You're excited. This is another season. And I tell my wife every year, it'll be March before you know it. And it happens literally like that. As soon as you start playing, it's game after game, practice, prep, meals, time together. And it's really special. And everyone right now is hoping that they're going to have a special season. And you have to work to have it. You have to be lucky. And certainly I'm proud of the guys, for what they did tonight.
All right, next up for Virginia, home to North Carolina Central, Friday night at 7. And Virginia Tech routed Charleston Southern 98-67 at Castle Coliseum in Blacksburg, Virginia on Monday night. Big game for 6'8" Toby Lowell. He in 29 minutes as a starter went 0 for 2 on threes, 5 for 8 on twos, and 10 for 12 on free throws. He finished with 20 points, 12 rebounds, including 4 offensive boards and 2 blocks. This is season number 7 for Mike Young as Hokies head coach. Tech last season did not make the NCAA tournament for a 3rd consecutive season. This off having made the NCAA tournament in each of the previous 2 seasons, including winning the 2022 ACC tournament. Now, money has been a big issue with Tech, a lack of spending in this era of NIL, though that is perhaps changing. We'll see. But next up for Virginia Tech, a game versus Providence at Mohegan Sun Arena in Connecticut on Saturday afternoon at approximately 4 in the 2025 basketball Basketball Hall of Fame tip-off. Hey, make your internet experience the best and safest it could possibly be with NordVPN. NordVPN aims to make the internet a better place for everyone. Free the internet from online threats, censorship, and surveillance, and give yourself the ability to access content that isn't usually available where you live. NordVPN allows you to switch your virtual location. This allows you to watch sporting events that aren't usually available where you live. This is especially key if you are a Premier League fan. Switching your virtual location also allows you to save money by purchasing flights, hotel stays, and subscriptions from other countries at cheaper prices. NordVPN can pay for itself and then some. Also, NordVPN allows you to protect your private data like bank details, passwords, and online identity. And know this, one NordVPN account can be used on up to 10 devices. To get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/Galdi and get 4 extra months on a 2-year plan. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. That's nordvpn.com/Galdi, nordvpn.com/Galdi, and that link is in the show notes for this episode of the podcast. Well, the tank job of our Washington Wizards in the NBA's 2025-2026 regular season is off to a nice start. They fell to 1-6 with a 119-102 loss at the New York Knicks on Monday night. The Wizards have lost 5 consecutive games. The team in this game blew a 10-point second quarter lead, trailed for all of the second half. The Wizards had a mixed game offensively, went 13 for 35 on threes and 25 for 46 on twos, and had 30 assists, but also went just 13 for 19 on free throws and committed 20 turnovers. And the Wizards allowed the Knicks to go 15 for 41 on threes and 29 for 53 on twos. So the Wizards had all kinds of problems with 7-foot Karl Anthony Towns. He in 30 minutes, 29 seconds as a starter had 33 points, 13 rebounds, including 5 offensive boards, 5 assists versus 3 turnovers and 2 steals. He went 3 for 8 on threes, 9 for 16 on twos, and 6 for 7 on free throws. The Wizards' leading scorer was Alex Sarr. He in 29-29 as a starter went 0 for 3 on threes, but 8 for 13 on twos and 3 for 3 on free throws. He finished with 19 points, 8 rebounds, including 3 offensive boards, 7 assists versus 2 turnovers and 2 blocks. Sarr is doing well. He on Monday night flirted with a triple-double. During Wizards head coach Brian Keefe's post-game press conference on Monday night had these exchanges.
Alex, career has 7 assists. I know that the passing was something you've always liked with him. Yeah. Is it something that's gotten even better so far in the second season?
I think our offense is growing, and playing through him is growing. You can see that he can read the game well. When we play through him, he can see the passes, and he's a very unselfish guy. He's not looking for his own shot, and that's the reason we want the ball in his hands. And you can see what he's capable of. I think he's just seeing the pictures. This is the maturation of all these younger guys. These things take time. These things don't happen overnight. I know everybody wants that in today's world. That's not the reality. You have to go through the fire. You got to learn. You got to see all these teams you're playing against. He's growing daily with that stuff.
How helpful is it, even outside of the assists, his ability to get flowing from one action to the next?
Yeah, well, like I said, we play through him and play through our bigs. There's a reason we do that, because of his ability to keep our offense flowing when we're playing well. That offense is just keep sharing, moving, and I thought we did that at times tonight. When we did that, we were playing pretty well.
All right, and then 3 other Wizards each scored 15 points. Bilal Coulibaly, he in 27-49 as a starter, went 3 for 5 on threes, just 2 for 6 on twos, 2 for 3 on free throws. He finished with 15 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists versus 4 turnovers and 2 steals. Keyshawn George, 30-27 as a starter, 3 for 6 on threes, 3 for 5 on twos. He did not attempt a free throw. He finished with 15 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists versus 4 turnovers, 3 steals, Daniels, and a game worst plus-minus rating of -25. And Corey Kispert, he in 14:46 off the bench, had 15 points, 4 assists versus 1 turnover, and a team best plus-minus rating of +7. He went 3 for 4 on threes, 1 for 2 on twos, and 2 for 2 on free throws. And no Chris Middleton for the Wizards. He did not play due to a left elbow contusion. Next up for the Wizards at the Boston Celtics, Wednesday night at 7:30. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Wednesday's show, episode 1192, will include a lot for you on the Washington Commanders, including reaction to whatever they do or do not do regarding the 2025 NFL trade deadline, which is on Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Also on Wednesday's show, I'll discuss the Baltimore Orioles as we have the introductory press conference for O's manager Craig Albernaz on Tuesday morning at 11. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, and we'll talk to you on Wednesday.
Feel the spirit.